This is Things You Might Not Have Heard, and I am Jay Clifton Payne, and in the queue for you today, 8 news stories from yesterday that you vetted as conversational. They cover information, politics, current events, and pop culture news. We have in the news today the New Jersey Wildfires. They are in the news for us, finally. Cam Ward is our newest millionaire in the NFL, and hopefully a great player, and Tiger Balm. And we'll explain why Tiger Balm is so important here, plus 5 other stories that you deem as conversational. We'll go through that vetting process, how they got to be here after a bit. But first, remind you that our website home is theconversationproject.com. All the information you need about us, full offerings of the Conversation Project are there. Also, email us at email us at the Conversation Inbox at gmail.com. And today's sponsor is Ground News. Go to our website, thisisconversationproject.com/ground news. Our link there, it's affiliate link. And if you go there, you'll get a great deal on great news or greater coverage for news. News not so great sometimes. Today is Friday, April 25th. No particular order as these stories will be presented to you, but we'll give you some context on how they got to be here and some things that got knocked out of the way in the process to get you these stories going forward. And of course, at the end, we'll explain how we get our stories into our feeds every single weekday for you for things you might not have heard. So let's get into this thing for story number 1, because to be honest, this is take number 3 of the whole show. Headline for story number 1, federal judge blocks Trump's efforts to eliminate DEI programs in public schools. Now, happening yesterday, a federal judge, actually many judges, put some rulings on temporary blocks to the Trump administration's efforts to eliminate the diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in public schools, DEI, as we'll go forward. In New Hampshire, won by U.S. District Judge Landya McCafferty, granted a preliminary injunction against the Department of Education's directive to threaten to withhold federal funding for schools maintaining DEI initiatives. This judge criticized the directive for its vagueness, noting it failed to define what constitutes as DEI programs, potentially infringing on First Amendment rights and imposing viewpoint discrimination. In Maryland, same thing happened. U.S. District Judge Stephanie Gallagher postponed an effective date of certain anti-DEI guidance, citing the concerns over free speech violations and lack of clarity. That basically is what we're getting in many cases here. Now, these rulings respond to lawsuits filed by organizations such as National Education Association and the American Federation of Teachers. They argue that the administration's policies are unconstitutional and threaten essential federal funding for schools, and particularly those that really have issues with low-income communities. Trump administration's directives are expanding on a lot of things, including the February 14th memo, which seeks to expand on a 2023 Supreme Court decision, that was even before Trump was in office, on race and college admissions in broader context. Essentially, they're using some existing work to put in the extra work. We'll see how it works out. But the big thing is to eliminate DEI programs as, I'll say, a buzzword, and that big word that popped up in the first setting, viewpoint discrimination, essentially saying that using DEI initiatives to say that other people of other races, other diverse things are fairly good, means that people who are in the more positive stance, or let's not say positive, but let's actually say more dominant stance, means to say that they're actually bad, which is not what's being said. It's saying that there's more out there. So with that viewpoint, it's really dumb. Viewpoint discrimination is sort of a very weird sort of buzzword that means nothing except what it means. And it's basically a way to fight back on DEI programs, a way to cut back on spending money, essentially because Trump just doesn't like stuff. New Jersey declares a state of emergency after wildfire grows to 12,000 acres. The rapid spread of the Jones Road wildfire ignited on April 22nd, Ocean City's Greenwood Forest Wildlife Management Area, that has expanded to over 15,000 acres and is going to be a threat for many more acres. It's one of New Jersey's largest wildfires in 2 decades, with dry conditions, strong winds fueling the rapid growth and threatening nearby communities, with widespread evacuations going forward. 50% of it has been contained as of yesterday, so that's good, but it could be worse. Approximately 5,000 residents from Ocean and Lacey townships were evacuated due to advancing flames, with fire proximity to decommissioned Oyster Creek nuclear power plant raising additional concerns. Major roadways, including the Garden State Parkway and Route 9, experienced closures and power outages were suffered for 25,000 customers, with evacuation orders lifted. The power restoration efforts are underway. Now, what I don't have, well, I do have it. So Joseph King has been actually charged in the actual arson starting of the fire. He's a 19-year-old from Warrant, arrested and charged with arson, aggravated arson. Authorities allege he ignited a bonfire using wooden pallets and failed to extinguish it properly, leading to the wildfire. Kling is currently detained in Ocean City Jail, awaiting a detention hearing scheduled for April 29th. There's environmental concerns, there's safety concerns, all going on right now. We are keeping an eye on the New Jersey wildfire right now because it's a big deal. Moving on to story number 3 for this morning. Trump administration confirms that ICE actually arrested Mahmoud Khalil without a warrant, which should be a bad thing, but apparently to them it's not, because it's been brought to light that the administration actually had some actual actions concerns for what they did for the immigration enrollment enforcement involving Columbia University student Mahmoud Khalil specifically, and also Maryland resident Khalil Abrigo Garcia. We've talked about him many times because now everyone's going down to El Salvador to see him and try to get involved in that one. Let's start with Khalil. The arrest of the Palestinian activist and legal U.S. permanent resident, arrested on March the 8th for essentially protesting. That's what happened. But he was arrested without a warrant. Government attorneys later acknowledged this in court filings, citing concerns that Khalil might flee as justification for the warrantless arrest. However, Khalil's legal team disputes the claim, arguing that he was cooperative during the whole arrest and the government's actions were politically motivated due to the pro-Palestinian activities. Khalil has been detained in Louisiana and is facing potential deportation despite not actually being charged with a crime, which is hard to do when you don't have a warrant. Moving on to Senator Van Hollen and his meeting with Clemar Abreu Garcia. Again, the not-so-chance meeting, the setup meeting, the whole show of shows with Senator Chris Van Hollen, Maryland, and his constituent, I'll say it in air quotes, the El Salvadorian migrant, Clemar Abreu Garcia, who is a resident of Maryland and has, the states, the paperwork to stay there, and has orders to not be deported on asylum claims, and if he can be deported, not to El Salvador, exactly where they sent him. That turned into a thing. Now we're finding out a lot of things about what's going on. He's been moved from the very notorious gang prison to a less notorious prison, so he's being treated better, we guess, but the whole situation there. They're also finding out that many folks have been denied access to Garcia, and many of the folks that they've taken down to where they are, and that's why there was the meeting in the hotel that was set up, complete setup in San Salvador, but set up by the El Salvadoran authorities to make some photo ops that made them look a little bit suspicious. At this point, many other senators, many other politicians, Democrats, are going down there to basically rattle some cages and get some airtime on this one. Let's do their bits to get in there. These cases actually underscore the nature of the administration's immigration policies and how there's not an issue with deportations, because Bush, Obama, Biden, they deported about millions of folks. Maybe not quite as fast as here, but Trump not quite getting it right done right, because literally he's screwing up the paperwork. We're going to talk Conclave in about 10 days. We're going to talk funeral tomorrow, as it happens tomorrow-ish for us here. It'll be like 3 in the morning here, early Central Time, Eastern Time, and regular time in the Vatican in Rome. But a cardinal who was convicted in actual crimes actually says he should go to the conclave and he deserves a chance to vote for the next actual pope. Cardinal Giovanni Angelo Bassisi, I'm going to go with that one, convicted in December 2023 for embezzlement and fraud, is asserting that his right to vote in the upcoming papal conclave is there. He is officially designated as a non-elector by the Vatican, but Bellici says he can vote. He contends that there are no formal decree explicitly revoking his voting rights and cites his participation in the 2022 consistory as evidence of cardinal privileges to remain intact. The Vatican doesn't want him around. They relinquished his election rights in 2020 following his resignation under pressure from Pope Francis and financial misconduct allegations. His conviction in 2023 sort of solidified what's going on. He had a 5.5-year prison sentence and permanent disqualification from holding public office. Those should be things to keep you from showing up for important things, felony counts and being charged with sexual assault and battery, and having things like issues on security clearances and not turning back paperwork. But that's a whole nother guy. In this case, Bellici's participation in the conclave will be addressed during the general congressional proceedings of the conclave, expected to happen on May 6th. So essentially, the Vatican says it's not going to happen, but, if a cardinal wants to be there, he's going to do what he can to see. We shall see how this thing plays out and whether the conclave drama starts before the conclave or whether we have to wait until all the cardinals get together and start doing their politicking to be who's in charge next. Despite my poor readings today, we think we provide for you a pretty good product here. The news articles, news headlines are all over the place, if you will. So we do that on purpose. And we do this with your help. In order to get your help, we need more people involved with the Conversation Project. And to do that, we're asking you for your help to get more people involved in the Conversation Project. That sounds like doublespeak because it kind of is. But this is what we're looking for. More people engaged. More people here watching the videos. More people dealing with us on the website and emailing us. To do that, we need you to like the videos you're watching right now. If you like the videos you're watching right now, that tells me I'm picking the right stories, giving the right amount of commentary, and in most cases, not flubbing up my words too much on some days. It's been a long week, so sometimes it gets that way. If you like it, I know I'm doing good work. If you like it, the algorithm thinks we're doing good work and will show it to more people, and they will consider whether the work is good or not. If you share it with like-minded people who may like it and share it themselves, or dismiss it on their own ends, we'll get more people involved and more people to see it with eyeballs. And if you enjoy what you're seeing and want to get more of it, but you're not getting it natively into your feeds, it's simple. Subscribe. Hit the subscribe button and you can get this in your feeds naturally. Also, go to our website, find other ways to subscribe to other views, including the TikTok views and, of course, the email newsletter that's out there as well. Congratulations. As expected, Cam Ward is your first pick in the NFL draft for 2025, going to Tennessee. The quarterback from University of Maryland, Miami, don't mess that up, is the first overall pick for the draft, marking the beginning of a new era for the franchise in Tennessee. His journey to the top of the draft is a testament to his resilience and talent. He started as a zero-star recruit, believe it or not, at Incarnate Word, and transferred to Washington State for making his final impact at Miami. In his final college season, Ward set an NCAA record 155 career passing touchdowns and led the nation with 4,313 passing yards, 39 touchdowns, earning accolades such as ACC Player of the Year and the Dan Davey O'Brien Award. The Tennessee Titans are coming off a 3-14 season. They're looking to revitalize their offense, and Ward will basically helm the team. He's going to have to start because they got nothing better to do. Despite trade offers for teams like New York and the Giants specifically, Tennessee's general manager Mike Borgenzi chose to build around Ward. He is the future. We all know it. 4-year, $43 million contract will probably what he's signing pretty soon. Starting position, he's going to place Will Lewis, who struggled this previous season. He will be the quarterback. He will go forward. Now, the big news on the second spot is that, of course, Travis Hunter did go number 2 based off a trade. Jacksonville traded up to get that spot and get that man. Shadir Sanders, not drafted in day 1. We have 4 more days to play around with this. Sticking with the NCAA. A settlement is delayed as a judge is calling for a roster limit changes for the NCAA. U.S. District Judge Claudia Wilkin has delayed her final approval of the NCAA's $2.8 billion antitrust settlement due to concerns over proposed roster limits that could displace current student athletes. The settlement is intended to resolve 3 lawsuits that allow direct compensation to athletes and suggests replacing scholarship limits with roster caps. Judge Wilkin, however, emphasized the immediate implication could harm athletes who were already secured roster spots via scholarships, not contracts yet, stating that any disruption is a consequence of the NCAA and member school premature actions. Poor read, but you get that. Anything that may change in the immediate, the real quick right now, could have ripple effects on people who have spots that lose them because they're now no longer scholarships, they're rosters because of semantics. NCAA and plaintiffs' attorneys have until May 7 to revise the statement, potentially by grandfathering current athletes to prevent any displacement. Failure to address these concerns could lead to the settlement's rejection and a potential trial. While the NCAA and Power 5 conference are reviewing these orders, plaintiffs' attorneys express optimism in reaching a resolution. Let's move on to more Katy Perry. And we talked about the hate for Meghan Markle, talked about the hate for Blake Lively. I'm not sure where the Katy Perry hate came from, but it's here. And this is not so much the hate per se. This is actual legal stuff. But this is hate for Katy Perry from a person named Katy Perry, or a lawsuit from Katy Perry, as Katy is being sued by Australian designer Katie, the more traditional spelling. Back in November of 2024, pop star Katy Perry, Katy, won significant legal victory in a long-running trademark dispute with Australian fashion designer Katie Jane Taylor, who operates under the brand name Katy Perry. The Australian Federal Court of Appeals overturned a previous 2023 ruling that had favored Taylor, determining that Perry's use of the stage name did not infringe upon Taylor's. The court found that Perry had been using the stage name Katy Perry commercially since 2003, 5 years prior to Taylor's 2008 trademark registration in Australia. The judges concluded Taylor's trademark was likely to cause confusion among consumers given Perry's international fame and established use of the name, and as a result, court ordered that Taylor's trademark be deregistered. There you go. Taylor expressed deep disappointment with the decision, being the Australian Taylor, stating that she had lost everything and felt devastated by the outcome. She had indicated that plans to consult with her legal team regarding potential next steps, including potential appealing of the High Court in Australia. The complexity of trademark law and the words that are said to come people's mouth. Now, one issue with trademark law is to keep people from literally stealing things from other folks. Whether Katy Perry and Katy Perry are really that hard to distinguish, I don't know. I don't know about Katy Perry from Australia and her line of goods because I'm not from there. But if you are from there, maybe you think that the other Katy has something to do with the other Katy. Maybe, if you don't pick up on the spelling of the names. The trademark law is pretty important, pretty interesting, and sometimes a pain in the butt. Oftentimes a pain in the butt. Our final story for the day goes to Tiger Balm, or technically to tariffs in China, as China's tariffs may actually hit the cost of things such as Tiger Balm. The widely used menthol ointment is facing significant cost increases due to Trump's administration's steep tariffs on Chinese goods. The tariffs on Chinese goods are reaching up to 145%. We'll get to that in just a moment. But Tiger Balm's U.S. distributor anticipates an additional $3 million to $5 million in annual costs for its actual product. This financial strain is expected to lead to higher prices for consumers in the near future. Yes, you will pay the cost of the tariff because that's how tariffs work. The product's vulnerability stems from this manufacturing setup. Tiger Balm is produced in a single factory, one place in China, and distributed throughout the U.S. Through a partner. The centralized supply chains leaves companies particularly exposed to heightened tariffs. In response to the broader economic impact of these tariffs, the Trump administration is reportedly considering reducing tariffs rates on Chinese imports between 50% and 65%. However, no definite decisions have been made with that. With that announcement, the Chinese have sort of quietly backed away from their tariffs. They're also publicly saying, we're not talking to Donald Trump. So in this case, both sides can tell the truth. Trump can say they're having considerations, they're talking, and they're working things out. They're dealing, they're working on deals. China can say we're not, but somebody in lower level guy can be doing that. Tiger Balm is just one example of something that comes from businesses in China that are specifically on Chinese manufacturing that can only be done effectively there. This is, to make it authentic, a Chinese balm made there so that you get that authenticity of what's going on. You could make it in Austin, I guess, and you can make it with more or less the same ingredients, but they're not coming from the same place. And of course, they also are not, Tiger Balm. We shall see how things play out going forward, and if the tariffs will become more of a, as he says, a bargaining chip, or if this thing becomes an actual issue for you guys buying cheap stuff from China and you guys buying the balm of the tiger. Yes, Eye of the Tiger is in my head now. We ran through our stories for the day, 8 stories for this Friday. So this is what we do now. We tell you how those 8 stories got to be here. And it's pretty simple. We put out news, articles, headline links on our feeds on Facebook and X all day long, every 50 minutes for you to engage in. The more you engage, the better chance there is that you can see what we have here on a weekday, Monday through Friday. On Mondays, we give you 10 stories because we have 90 stories for the full weekend, about 30 in a day. So 30 in a day gives you 8 stories. We'll repeat that back in a second. Now, today we are teasing this headline, which we'll have to fight the whole weekend. So it's going to be one of the 10 stories come Monday. You want to talk about Trump's store and its selling of the new Trump 2028 hats because Trump is trolling. Trump in 2028 is legally impossible per our Constitution, but as I had in the conversation yesterday on how things work, that may not be the case going forward because it may take a whole lot of people to change the Constitution, but we've got 4 years to get it done if you want to get it done. Yesterday, we teased how the Department of Justice unsealed one terrorism case against one of the TDA members that are in El Salvador. And Yeah, because that one didn't quite make the cut. It did not, but we'll see if this other one goes there. Now, we have 90 stories or so that we posted over the weekend, and it's up to you to basically engage in it and make it happen. Go to our feeds on Facebook and X, like the story if you like it, hit the emoji face you want to, that goes with it for Facebook. Reply to it, do what you can to share it, do all those things. All the things that are actual engagements to the story, to the headlines. The more engagement it gets, the higher chance we have to talk about it. Today's 8 stories were 8 stories that were of the top half of stories that we looked at, that we plucked from. Of the 33 stories, somehow we got into the links today. We looked at about 13 of them, because the ones that were trending so high, so about 13 of them today, and we sifted through those 13 and gave you 8 here, and that's how it works. So we're talking Trump hats, 2028 hats on Monday. It's up to you to make it happen. Now, we'll explain more stuff in a moment about our weekend show, which reaggregates stuff for the week, but this is how we get our stories in every single day for you here. You actually do the bulk of the work by giving us the starting points, and then we pick from there. Today, we're going to talk about, very quickly, our sponsor for the day, which is Ground News. And staying informed is hard these days. It really is. Stepping into a maze of opinion, spin, and bias and outrage is what we're seeing for 2025, and probably for beyond at this point. We're just not going to get out of it going forward. Ground News will help you through that. It's the first news comparison platform out there, and it lets you see the full picture of news. It shows you the headlines that you've already seen from wherever you get them from, plus compares them with other places that you may not look at, and so you can see the headlines as they work out, and of course the stories as they work out, and see that all the outlets aren't covering it the same way. You can read it for yourself and take your own actual thought process, your own brain, and figure out what you want to believe from stuff. Not just being fed things by one side, or have one other side fake things that are in. Whether you're left, center, or right viewing, you can get the full picture and take it from an actual standpoint that is subjective, not just being fed a line. Ground News help you track media bias, your media bias specifically. You check out blind spots in your news coverage, and of course, get more clarity and less chaos in your coverage. Get in on this one by using our link, our affiliate link at our website. This is theconversationproject.com/ground news. This is theconversationproject.com/ground news. This affiliate link allows us to get a small commission for your purchase of their subscriptions. Excuse me. And one subscription you get is 40% off of the Advantage plan, their largest plan for all access to all their stuff. And you can get in on the news and get everything that we get as well, because we pay for that plan as well going forward. So if you want to get into this, this is conversationproject.com/ground news. This is conversationproject.com/ground news. It's Friday. So for our promo section, we do a little bit extra on Friday. We show some love and shout outs to our partners, folks who are our sponsors, people who partner up with us here for the Conversation Project. You used to go to our website and go to thisisconversationproject.com/partnerships, and you can be a partner as well. You can actually help fund and work in behind the scenes, help us do some things going forward, keep this thing going. Harold Braxton, Colby Green, Eldon Kidd, and Joy Winters are 4 partners that are listed in their, watching the video, they're listed with their tiers that they're on. And you go to their partner page and you sign up via Buy Me a Coffee for monthly subscriptions, monthly contributions to the Conversation Project. They help out a lot. You can also go to our sponsors page and just buy a one-time thing. You can also go to the partners page and do a one-time donation, and they help out a lot. You get a shout out for those things. But we're loving it. We're loving those guys, and they're helping us work things out in the background. Now, back to the actual promo of what we do at the Conversation Project very quickly. Our website, this is conversationproject.com. Find our conversations page, find our sponsors page, find our page for partnerships, and find past episodes and all the stuff you need to see about how we do things at the Conversation Project. It's pretty simple. We are just an aggregator of news stories that use our aggregation service, or our way to share them with you, to get input from you to do what to talk about. So the stories you talk about are headlines, and because I have news background and all this stuff, I mean, I'm just wearing a hoodie here on the internet at this point, but at some point in time, I manage a news network for the whole state of Arkansas. I can do this for real. But instead of sending out reporters and going through our bureaus there, we use the feeds, we use the websites, we use the aggregators out there to find good stories, sometimes not so good stories, ask you to tell us your opinion of them, and your opinion helps us pick out the stories for our headline shows every morning. Now, we also provide for you tomorrow, or actually a little late today, we have some family stuff going on, so it'll probably be more a latest Sunday edition of the weekly roundup. These are a roundup of 12 stories from the past week from the 42 stories or so that we post inside of our actual show here from Monday through Friday. So these are stories we're going to revisit and give you some more updates to, or just look back at and say, wow, that actually happened. That comes through in a bonus thing on the same feed line on the weekend. It will be a little late this weekend because we have some family things happening. So there you go. But with that, we're going to wrap up for the day. As we ask you every single time, follow us on our feeds, consider being a partner, and make sure you are emailing me at the Conversation Project's email address, theconversationinbox@gmail.com. For this Friday, April 25th, 2025, I thank you so much for being a part of our family. Love you, mean it. Make sure you stay limber, stay hydrated, on task for all the grand things that you're here to do in your life, which should be run as a marathon and not as a sprint. Love you, mean it. That's the third time I think I said that. Let's get out of here. Have a great weekend. Show up for the weekend roundup. That's happening as well. And make sure you're engaging with the stories all weekend long to see what stories, including maybe Trump 2028 hats, will be talked about come Monday morning on things you might not have heard.